I retoggled all of our streams. Let's see if that worked. Did it work? Oh my gosh, I think it did. All right, I think we're live. Woo. Oh boy. All right. Well, let me just check on YouTube. Yes, we are. Wow. Okay, we got it. I don't know why, or how, but we are live. Let's roll. This is the morning show. Spencer, JC, Steve. Let's bring the guys on and let's just we're running late. So let's just get started.
All right. Good morning, gentlemen, and all the ladies out there. Little technical difficulties this morning there, Spencer.
This is a first. It was a new kind of difficulty, but we got it worked out, so we're all good.
Listen, we had T-ball practice yesterday. My daughter went from the worst kid on the team, she's only 3, and they're 4 or 5-year-olds. She's the best kid on the team. Strazza, she was crushing the ball yesterday.
Really?
Like, I don't know where this came from. Like, I've been working with her a little bit and, like, here and there, all of a sudden, she's Babe Ruth. Like, I've never seen anything like it. We had to back the kids up. She was going to kill somebody.
I'm not surprised. I've seen her play soccer.
I guess. I don't know. This is a team of 4 or 5-year-old boys. She's a 3-year-old girl because she doesn't turn 4 until July.
That's pretty awesome. So you had a proud dad moment.
I couldn't believe it. I was just like floored. I'll send you the video later. It was out of control. I don't know where this came from. And then I showed her the video this morning. I was like, look, this was you. She was like, that was me? I'm like, yeah, that was you.
So she's doing great as a player. How's daddy doing as a coach?
Honestly, I didn't think I'd be that good of a coach. I am incredible. The kids listen to me. They have fun. I'm a good coach. Seriously.
That's
I didn't know. I mean, I figured it'd be okay. I'm actually a pretty good coach. How about that? All right. Let's talk markets. What do you say?
State of the markets. Can you run bumpers, Spencer, or is everything going to blow up?
I don't know.
All right, guys. So we got Larry Pesavento in the house. So, AKA Billy Ray Valentine. So that's going to be exciting to have Larry on the show. Let's do a quick little rundown, get into the markets. Dow futures up 100 points this morning. It's about 0.25%, about 38,600 on the Dow futures. We got S&P futures up about 1/3%, hanging out between that 5,000, 5,100 level. NASDAQ 100 up 1/3% as well, about 60 points, 17,400 there. 30-year bond futures, surprise, surprise, down again, down towards 114. This thing just goes down every day. Gold futures down almost a full percent. 23.25 today for gold futures. Silver hanging in there above 27, down 0.5%. Copper down 1.5%, actually, but hanging in there nicely. $4.40 on the copper. Dollar mixed in early trading, not much going on there. Volatility index down to 16.5, down quite a bit off that 18-19 level. Bitcoin down 1,000 points almost today, down about 850 points. 66,000 right now for Bitcoin. Ethereum down about 50 basis points, 3184. 3184 for the Ethereum. And of course, you got Solana down almost 2% today. 154 for the Solana. Total crypto market cap, Spencer Israel, $2.35 trillion. How are we feeling this morning, Strazza?
Funny Money had a nice little bounce yesterday.
Did.
Yeah.
Did. Yields remain elevated, man. These bonds, no bid on the bonds, Strazza. I know I say this every day, and guys, I'm not trying to be like annoying about it. If this was like anything other than the United States Treasury bond market, I would not be mentioning it every day. Like if this was like Palo Alto Networks or like, you know, some shit coin, that would be one thing. This is the Treasury bond market. It goes down every day.
Well, you know who else is mentioning it every day? Some member of the Federal Reserve. So they're out here chatting this market.
You still have one of those?
Yeah, then they're talking a lot. So Powell's out doing his higher for longer tour. And the bond market is finally
Hold on. Higher for longer tour? What does that mean?
Interest rates, higher for longer.
Is that like a Taylor Swift tour?
I don't know if it has anything to do with Taylor Swift.
Don't front like you don't listen to Taylor. You're
You got,
Swifty behind closed doors, dancing in the shower, singing.
I stayed up all night to listen to her new album. It dropped at midnight the other night.
Really?
Yeah.
She has a new album?
Yeah.
Oh, so you are a Swifty. So all right, hold on. So now all of a sudden he's telling people that rates are going higher. Is that the
Not necessarily higher, just you're not getting cuts, right? We have more work to do on inflation. Restrictive policy needs to play its course.
but isn't that what the bond market's been telling us all along? And then you have, everybody lying to you about lower interest rates while the interest rates keep going up. So now the Powell's following the bond market. Is that what's happening?
Not just the bond market, right? Commodities markets have been screaming at us this year that inflation's not going away. So
Right.
I'm not an inflation person. I'm not an economist. What a lot of people started working again over the past really 2 quarters now. They started talking about, oh, well, shelter and services, right, will more than offset it. I don't know. But when you see gasoline prices, crude oil prices, and really the whole commodities complex at this point, at least parts of the whole commodities complex working higher together, that's going to put some inflationary pressures on the Fed. And it's going to be hard to come out and cut rates, especially cut rates 5, 6, 7 times like they had, like the market had originally planned. So I think risk
Did
assets.
the market plan that, or was that just the
That's what was priced in coming into the year. So I think that risk
Fed fund
assets,
futures?
despite what a 4% pullback here in the major averages, they're holding up really well. The resilience is impressive, I think.
Speaking of which, I want to Spencer, can you throw up slide 2 there? I want to hear what you're thinking here. It's amazing that we got this halving that absolutely nobody saw coming, and it was just a complete surprise out of nowhere.
Yeah.
The mining stock. What's that?
Definitely was not priced in.
Definitely was not priced in. Definitely was just a huge surprise. No one at all saw it coming.
Yeah,
It
wow.
was just a total coincidence that it was on 420.
Crazy.
So now that that's happened, the Bitcoin miners, now they're ripping. Now we want to buy them. Talk to me about what you're thinking here.
I'm going to do a little note actually today on these guys, just because they're all really clean. And I think we've done a great job this cycle of rotating to different crypto equity vehicles at appropriate times, right? Like Coinbase right now, it's like $60 billion company. I don't love it up here. They kind of need to back up their stock price performance with some numbers now, right? I want to see these margin improvements and see just how profitable they could be during crypto bull markets. Right? So we need to see some earnings from Coinbase. MicroStrategy's at a really clean level, but the miners have been lagging. I think this chart, more than anything, tells the story. Sean and I did the Flow Show yesterday, and he didn't like the idea. And then I started showing him some charts, and he came around like that. He was like, oh, wow, we got to put this on. So I think you could trade it as a catch-up trade. This would be a tactical. In some cases, you're trading a range. Like in Riot, this is not a hot chart, not a chart that we're typically buying, right? But I think with so many crypto assets extended or have already made really nice moves, there's definitely some catch-up potential here, and they're clean. These charts are super clean. So I don't know if we brought any along, but I'll share a Riot chart with you.
This is a very short-term trade, though.
Dude, we're pretty much the calls that we put on yesterday. I think we're already on a double. So yeah, could be out of half and have a free ride at this point. Here's one.
I mean, it was up 25% yesterday, like they cured cancer or something.
Yeah, and we were laughing when we were doing the show. It was up 10%. It was 11:30. And I brought up the one-day rate of change just to make the point that 10% for this stock is nothing. Happens
no big deal. Just another day.
A couple times a week. So I was like, this thing could do 10% again tomorrow. It did 13% after we got off the video. So, I mean, these stocks, when they go, they go. And one of the reasons why Sean actually liked it so much was, the premiums was just really low. We went almost a month out, JC, less than $1 out of the money, and it cost $1 for the calls. So $1 would be 10%. Stocks trading at $10. We had the 11 calls that cost $1, and we're like 10%. That could happen overnight in something like this, and we have almost a month. So it just seemed it seemed too good to be true. So it's working for now, but we'll see. We'll see. They're probably going to give some back here today. It looks like.
I think the pricing further out is more expensive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these stocks really move. Look at the Clean Spark chart I just shared with you. I mean, it's just, buying against these old highs. I don't know if those are the August 22 highs, then Q1 2022 highs. We had pivot highs there from Q4 of last year, 1350. Now it's reclaiming the VWAP. This is the leader too among the Bitcoin miners.
It
This
really
one's
is.
great.
It's 4 billion. Riot. It's actually bigger than Riot.
Yeah, so we made a little table. I don't want to give everything away now, but this is just too good. The other thing, Fonz, throw it up.
Throw
The
it
other
up, Bonds.
thing that really stands out is all of these names are heavily shorted.
Riot included.
Yeah. So when they make moves, they really start to go. We'll include the short interest in the post for all of them.
Clean Spark's got 11% short.
Yeah, only one day to cover, but Riot 13.5%, Mara
Yeah.
15.5%. Look, anything double digits is good. It's going to give you something, right? Some sort of extra juice when momentum comes into the name, and that's what you see with these names when they go. Just like we were talking about yesterday. Typically, you don't want to buy something up 10% in the morning, right? But they can keep going.
You do not. That is actually a pretty good rule. And then it was up 10% yesterday, and then ultimately closed up 25%.
Because the squeeze mechanics
rule's probably
kick
not
in
a good word. Guideline.
Yeah, right. It's not a best practice, right? But these stocks are kind of built differently. And again, there's this huge kind of catch-up potential where, like we were just showing with the Bitcoin overlay chart, they've been moving in opposite directions from really these are just leveraged Bitcoin plays, right? They should trade
Are they
some
though?
sort of.
I feel like they are.
Yeah.
Sometimes they aren't other times.
They're literally mining and holding Bitcoin, right? So MicroStrategy is going out and buying Bitcoin, which is different because it's very easy to calculate their cost, right? These guys are mining Bitcoin, so their cost structures are a little bit more complicated, and I don't love that. And that's what this whole halving thing's about, right? They're supposed to get cut in half from a profitability standpoint. But the divergence there is just, it's too big. This isn't the first time that we're having. It's not going to be the last time. And if you look at the correlation going back 5 years, as long as these things have been around, it's always been very tight. So we're just betting on that not changing. In fact, we're betting on that correlation kind of reasserting itself and that gap closing. Hopefully closing in a way where the miners catch up to Bitcoin, right? For the trade.
Every now and then I still get these like angry boomers that are just like, obviously didn't own crypto at all. So I haven't made any money at all this entire time, which probably I can imagine that would be quite frustrating. Talking to me, like, tweeting at me, emailing me that this is for criminals. This is just a way to, launder money and to pay for illicit activity and all that stuff. And like, I'm thinking to myself, that would probably be really dumb. Why would anybody want to do illegal activity and do transactions on a public ledger where everybody can see it, including the FBI and, whatever police department is going to be chasing you down? Why would you want to transact on a public ledger if you're doing something illegal? I don't like, it seems like cash is way better for that. Like untraceable paper cash, like Stone Age stuff. Like if you're going to do illegal stuff, like why would you just use US dollars? That seems way easier. No?
I'm with you. Listen, you know how I feel about all of these narratives.
Like that doesn't make any sense at all.
It is just for human trafficking and money laundering.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, Eric. We are all now dumber. So thanks. No. Why would you do that on a public ledger if you're going to do something illegal? Just use cash that's not traceable, like the old-fashioned way.
No.
Like I'm not a criminal. I probably wouldn't make a great criminal, but some of these things are kind of common sense.
Thank you. cash will always be king.
You
Never gonna change.
acknowledge though that it is used sometimes for criminal activities. Of course it is. course it is.
Everything, the internet's used for criminal activity. So should we stop using the internet?
Don't you think it has more to do with the fact that it's digital? That's why it's being used for document purposes, as opposed to like the traceability and
how about
safety
automobiles?
of it?
Automobiles are used for illicit activity as well, right? Getaway cars and whatnot. That's been so. Should we just not use cars?
I did
either?
not say we should.
Could also
We
launder
should
money
make
with
it
automobiles.
illegal. I'm just saying it is used for illegal activities. That's all I was saying. I didn't
What
say
isn't?
anything else.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, JC.
What isn't used for illegal activities?
I don't know how it really works. So if the feds were like investigating some drug dealer, they would literally just go and check the blockchain, right?
Yeah, I mean,
would it be that easy?
It's all there.
It's not like you can see.
Right.
Yeah, you would have to find a link between the real world and the blockchain, right? That's what you'd have to do.
Yeah, but you find out the guy's
Right.
wallet information,
Right.
There's an
accounts,
endpoint.
which they can do, then you can go and track.
There's
Sure.
an endpoint.
It seems like their jobs are getting much easier.
They are. I forgot the
you
name.
know.
What they called it. They have like a name for it about how much easier their life is that they could just track it on the old blockchain. It's funny.
All right, whatever. Yeah, I agree. Wavy, I agree with you. This is a very old debate. We're not going to.
And by the way, hold on, for the record.
Moving on.
For the record, hold on. Let's just say that it was used for all this criminal activity. Let's just say that all these people were doing all these shady things on it. Guess what? If I think it's going higher, I'm still going to buy it, right?
Yeah.
Like
I do like this
activity is not my
conspiracy.
problem.
No, I like this one though. Satoshi is the U.S. government. That wouldn't.
Do you think
that
we're ever
wouldn't
going to find out who it is or who
drive me
she
crazy.
is? Do you think we're ever going to find out?
I thought
I
there
think
was
if
a
it's-
guy that people had like sort of like long suspected as being Satoshi. I
He
forget
died.
what his name. I forget what his name was, but he like showed up a couple years ago and like knew everything. And
It's probably a consortium of governments or agencies or
I don't
some
think
very
so.
very powerful people,
Okay.
and it was probably created as a monster hedge for the way the world financial system.
You don't
Maybe.
think yeah, your conspiracy theory is wrong. Can we what if like you think like one day, like decades from now, we're gonna wake up and we're gonna be like, oh my god, it was Kevin Bacon all along? Like like somebody like you know what I mean?
I don't think so. I don't think it could have been one person. I think this was such a masterful creation.
I don't know.
This had to be a committee, and there had to be some really powerful people
Yeah, I don't
involved.
think so.
It wasn't some guy in his underwear who was good at
I
computers.
think it was.
Is all. I think that's nice to think. It's a cool story, but
I think that's
All
the
right.
higher
No way.
probability outcome than this. Like, if think about it, if
shot.
all these people knew, if there was this huge thing, it would have leaked already. Come on.
Okay.
Like
But-
even the OJ, like the OJ trial, like the panelists or whatever. What are they called? The jurors?
jury?
The jury. They've already come out and said, yeah, we knew he did it, but it was just revenge, racist stuff, and we let him go.
Man.
Like they've already come out and said that.
What is today? What is today's show even? What are we even doing?
My
We're talking
point
about
is that these
Satoshi and OJ.
Satoshi and OJ, that's the name of the show. So when you publish it on the YouTube,
God.
Satoshi
All right.
and OJ. No, but seriously, come on.
Look, we're gonna have Larry on in a couple minutes. I got a lot of things on my list. We're gonna have Patrick on.
You think things have gotten interesting now? Wait till Larry comes on.
Oh, I'm ready for it. Based on his name
Just to
alone.
set the stage a little. This is
Based on his
the guy Bartoloni learned from. So just
This is the guy that Bart learned from.
Yep.
All right, we're in for a treat then. We're in for a treat.
All right, what do we need to know? We got 5 minutes before Larry comes on board. What do we need to know?
Let's talk about Spotify here. It's up
All right,
10%. Up 10% this morning. Earnings report. They did swing to a profit last quarter. It is not their first ever quarterly profit. There was like a random quarter like 5 years ago, but this is a company that's been largely unprofitable. In the last quarter was profitable. So hey, good for them. Their top line beat, the bottom line beat. Their monthly active users did come in a smidge below their own guidance, but still growing. So if you want to paint a picture there, you can say that their growth is slowing, which technically that's true, but it was still up 19% year over year. Their total monthly active users. They are raising prices. They're raising prices pretty much across the board in every major market. It'll roll out in America later on this year. And yeah, like I said, swung to your profit. Good quarter, and stock is up 10%.
Listen, they've done a great job. Does anybody remember Pandora?
I still use it.
You're one of those people? Oh my
But you
god!
know why though?
I was.
Yeah, I used to use Pandora in
I
college.
have stations that I created a decade and a half ago.
Yeah,
that are
I
still
miss
good
it.
stations.
Yeah, I love Pandora.
So
I get it.
I still have like a handful of stations that I listen to.
So he was complaining about how sometimes you can't pause songs or you can't it's changed. He said it's gotten worse. There's ads.
Who's changed?
You can't skip. There's certain licensing issues where you can't pause certain songs or skip them.
Wait, doesn't
strange.
Sirius own Pandora? They do, I think.
Pandora was publicly traded there for a hot second.
For a long time. P.
Yeah, P. Can you? I like, for the record, I like Spotify better, but I think this is like one of those things where I use both, like we do both. Can you?
It's your.
I got a fun one for you. Throw up slide 2 there. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the United Kingdom, you may have heard of him. It's a country out east of here. So the United Kingdom,
I know.
Big deal.
Yep.
New all-time highs yesterday. FTSE 100.
The EWU or the FTSE? Wow.
One of the biggest reasons why I was able to do that, I don't know if you guys have done the work, but you know what the technology weighting for this sucker is?
Not
0.
a lot.
Play it, Spencer. 0.
3.
Is it really 0?
Yep.
0.
Yeah.
0.0.
So good. 0.0 weighting. It might be like 0.3 or something like that, but nevertheless, 0. How about that, huh? Shout out to the UK. Shout out.
I like it. That's good. They're emerging as a leader again, the United Kingdom.
There's no technology. So what's in there? You got industrials.
Staples and industrials.
What in industrials?
Staples and industrials.
And banks.
Healthcare. What are the biggest sectors? Did I get them all?
What about financials?
We've got, so the biggest sectors are, you got financial, 17% to Spencer's credit. Staples, 16%. Materials, 10%. Double-digit material exposure. How many countries can say
That's
that?
Sick. Good for them. Yeah, they got
big for them now. There's a reason why it hasn't done anything for decades. All that material exposure. 0% technology. It's actually almost 1% technology, but it's still 0. 13% industrials. 13.5% energy. Strazza. Big energy exposure. So you've got 24% energy and materials, and then another 13% industrials.
Yeah, it's different. They're built different. These European
0%
countries.
tech, 2% communications, 7% consumer discretionary. Biggest components out there in the United Kingdom: Shell, AstraZeneca, HSBC, Unilever, British Petroleum, GlaxoSmithKline, Diageo, Rio Tinto.
The rotation that we've seen since off the Q4 lows last year continues to support a world or an environment where you probably want to be in these countries, have some sort of exposure. This kind of rotation would support outperformance from these guys over the US for the first time in a long time. We need to see it still, but the breakdown that you just described, these are the groups that you really want to be in right now.
Which is part of the reason why we look internationally. We look internationally for a lot of reasons, but you know, one of the great benefits is to recognize which countries are doing better than others and what are the sectors and the types of stocks that are driving that higher. And then even if you're not going to trade those countries or the ADRs in those countries, you can still take that information, extrapolate that, and bring that to the United States markets, and you're going to see a lot of common themes.
Yeah. But it's a mistake not to trade those countries, right? Because correlations within the U.S. equities market are pretty strong across the board. When you go outside of the U.S., you can lose that, I guess, correlation risk.
100%.
Right?
But some people are just like, are just mentally challenged and just cannot fathom buying stocks outside the United States. My point is that's okay. you could still use
It's
that
not good, though.
information is my point. Like, it's still valuable even if you're stubborn, you know?
What
But I think that's a mistake. Don't be stubborn.
what about the
I think
argument?
there's
But a lot of people aren't gonna
Actually,
listen to you, Strazza.
never
You can
mind.
tell them 1,000 times not to be stubborn. They're gonna be stubborn and not listen. Right, Spencer? Speaking of
No,
stubborn.
I was going to
mean,
say, what about the argument that you can actually get international exposure via U.S. stocks? But let's not even go that can of worms.
Let's not
It's
even
not
go
we.
down that rabbit hole. What do you
Yeah.
say
All
we
right.
bring on Larry? You see what happens, Larry?
Sure. Let's bring
See
on
what
Larry
happens.
Pesavento. He's a trader. He's a founder. He's an author. He's as JC said, the guy that taught Bartoloni. So see what he has to say.
Jay, we've been friends for a long time. Make the call.
I mean, this is pretty professional, guys.
Nice show you got going here.
Looking good, Billy Ray.
Feeling good, Lewis. Feeling good, Lewis. Juan Carlos, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Larry
Nice meeting you,
Pesavento,
Spencer.
the man, the myth, the legend. I really appreciate you being here. Yo, let me tell you something. Your background, it's like you're one of these like 16-year-old YouTubers.
Yeah, 16 just about covers it. I have been going to, this will be my third year of trading.
Ha, I doubt that.
Nice.
Started in 1959.
You guys hear
Believe
that
it or
little bit of
not,
a scratch on that audio?
Hold on, I got to turn off. A limit minder is going off. I've got to turn it off, otherwise they will be yelling.
I'm
at
very
me.
impressed, though.
What
Larry
about?
coming to us live, I guess, live from the New York Mercantile Exchange, where he has just put the Duke brothers out of business.
You know, that was filmed at the in the orange juice pit. Actually, it was filmed in the silver pit. Hold on, just let me get rid of this thing. I gotta find it first. Oh boy, oh boy.
It's like Larry does like YouTube videos about like, you know, how to trade on decentralized exchanges, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, well,
You
I
learn
mean,
Hold on
from
here
the
just
best,
a
Larry.
I'm
second.
impressed with like, as the chat just noted, I'm impressed with like your gaming chair and your setup. It's very well done.
Well, the gaming chair is a new thing. I had to put the damn thing together. I got a problem with it. I got the arm slips off the side a little bit, but I'll get it fixed. I'm not very technically oriented, folks. So when I started trading, it was with, Bunker Ramo ticker tapes. So it was really a big difference from where we are right now. But I've been doing it my whole life. I'm heading for the 9th furlong pole pretty soon, and I'm still doing it 70 hours a week. I was up about 6 hours last night, having a lot of fun. But I've been blessed. I've met, my Bartoloni. In fact, I don't know if you know this or not, but the whole of the Top Gun group, I had all of them. I had Spider, Jeff, Buck. Jeff was Spider, Jeff, Bucky, and Bart. What was Jeff's code name? Rocket. So those were the guys. I started with Bucky, and then I got Jim later. That was 20 some years ago. And Jim and I become very close friends, and also Bucky, and not so much with Spider, because he's the CIA guy that Jim always talks about. He's NIS. I mean, he's you don't want to go to dinner with him.
Spencer, do you want to fix that for him, and then we'll bring him back?
I'm not really sure there's not much we can do, but I can still hear him pretty good. So why don't we just keep? I kind of want to keep going.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So Larry, before we get into current markets, I want to talk about the current markets, kind of help put things in perspective. But how'd you even get in this business? When did you get in this business?
It was I graduated from high school in '58. I went to college at Indiana University, and I got a master's degree. I got a BS degree in pharmacy. And after I finished the pharmacy degree, I wanted to go into business because I worked for Eli Lilly. They gave me a great job. That was the premier company to work for back in that day. That was '62. And so I started graduate school. And in graduate school, there was a professor there from Yale University. And Jim was a PhD in mathematics and other stuff. And so he taught this class in statistics, which I had to take, and I was really bored. But he took everything statistically and related to the silver market, to the cattle market, to the corn market, to the stock market, to the bond market. He related all of that. And I said, gee, this is great. And then what happened was, he said, there's only a few times in your life where you're able to invest and never lose any money with the potential of making a lot of money. And he told us about Lyndon Johnson in 1966 decided that they were going to get rid of the silver supply. Silver was trading for $1.27, okay? And the silver certificates say, pay to the bearer in demand 1 ounce of silver. And so if you had a silver certificate, it was worth $1.27. As price of silver went up, that bill became greater and greater. Well, I started collecting bills, a lot of different reasons. But by the time they started to redeem the silver, which is 67, the price of silver had gone to 325. So it almost tripled in price. Now that dollar bill was worth 325, and they were very, very hard to find. I had a supply that I knew I could get to, and it was my grandfather's brother, who was a guy that ran the punch board and baseball cards and football. Well, it was mostly baseball cards there in Indiana, and he had a big war chest. And I told him, I said, give me $10,000, and I said, I'll bring you back $20,000 in 2 hours. I was a chosen son of the family, first one to go to college, and so in an Italian accent, he said, if you don't come back, I'm going to find you somewhere. But I took the 10 grand. I went to Indianapolis, which is about an hour away from Terre Haute, where I was staying at the time. And I went to the coin place there, and they were redeeming it. So for every $10,000, you got back 30,000. So I took the 30,000 back, gave him 20, and I got 10 in my pocket. JC, minimum wage was 75 cents. Just to give you an idea how much 10,000.
You're crushing it, Larry. You're crushing it.
Well, let me tell you how crushing it was. He said, you want to do it again? I said, yeah. So I took it over again. Over the next 2 weeks, I did it 6 times. And I collected quite a bit of money, about 60 grand.
And how old are you at this point?
I was 22. No, 23. And I said, this is what I want to do for a living. And so I got to know Jim, and he basically, I said, you got all this money. He drove a beautiful Porsche. I ended up being a Porsche fanatic because of him. And I said, why do you do this? And he said, Larry, he said, I'm here for the girls. He was only like 30, and he was, as they say in the trade, very, very gregarious on campus. And he was a great guy. He passed away about 15 years ago, but he was the one that got me started doing it. And then when I started to work for Lilly, I was always doing this in the back of my mind. And then I met a couple of people at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, which I became a member in '82. And they said, why don't you do this? And I said, well, I was going back and forth. I was living in California at the time. And I'd worked with Lilly this was up to, I should tell you, remember the Russian grain robbery?
No.
Remember that? Well, of course, your parents weren't even born. And then in '72, the Russians tried to take over the whole grains, wheat, corn, beans, all that stuff. And they ran prices of beans from $3 to $13. And I was involved with some of that. And I didn't take the whole 60 grand. I put 15 grand into the account. And on my birthday in '74, that was July 28th, I had a little over 1.2 million in my account in that 4-year period. Now, here is the really fun part. Guess what?
We haven't started having fun yet? Sounds like you're having a great time at this point.
Here's where we really have fun. Guess what I had 8 weeks lower on the 12th of October? I owed Conti Commodities $2,700. I was paying a $50 commission round trip. So, and back in those days, there was no CFTC, no NFA, any of that stuff. That didn't come around until '75. So the grain firms would always let you trade in a debit balance. Especially I paid so many commissions over that 5-6 year period. They let me trade. I said, nope. I said, I'm going to study. And a friend of mine had gave me this book by Gartley called Profits in the Stock Market. It was written in 1937. It cost $1,500, which was the cost of 3 Ford automobiles. And he owed me a sort of a favor, and he said, take this book and study it. And I did. I didn't do any trading from during all of '74, rest of '74, and into June of '75. And then I saw this pattern that I liked, which was in soybean oil. And anybody that would listen to me, I would tell them, buy this stuff and put it away. And I said, you're risking $200 to make 20 grand. They said, oh, it can't be. Well, a lot of people did. And that's what got me, got me back on back on the path, and I never looked back.
So commodities are what got you in this business originally.
The number of times I've traded on a stock you can count on the arm of an amputee. I don't do any. They're too slow. I still have the Bitcoin that I bought for $1. I still got 100 of those, but other than that, that's a joke, JC, by the way. The only thing I ever did in Bitcoin is I told my son-in-law to buy ADA. This was 5 years ago. It was 6 cents. And he sold it for $2.80. And he paid, the 3 grandsons paid all their education for the rest of their lives with that transaction. But put $5,000 in it, took out almost 500,000.
Not
So
bad.
that's pretty good. Yeah, not
Now, let
bad.
me
Guess how
ask you
much?
this.
Guess how much I got of that? The same amount that I had. You got it, brother. It's goose eggs. Hey, let's talk some markets here.
Larry,
people don't want to hear. No, go ahead.
When so you do a little radio show, which is cool. You always start out with what we started out this episode with, right?
Yeah.
Looking good.
Looking
right?
good, Billy Ray. Feeling good, Lewis. Right out of Trading Places.
And why do you you love the movie? It's appropriate.
Yeah, so many memories. In fact, the grandkids live in Philadelphia, and that's where it was filmed at the Wells Fargo building there, and that office is still there. And when they were auctioning that off about 30 years ago, they had that desk where he was taking the drugs out. Remember, he was hiding the drugs. I bought that desk and gave it to my partner as a gift. It was a double.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. You bought that desk from Trading Places that they use in the movie?
Yeah. Well, it was a Wells Fargo desk. They were just auctioning stuff off.
Where is that building in Philly?
It's at 100 South Broad Street, right next to right there on the corner, right there, right next to that Capitol Grill. It's a half a block away from Capitol Grill.
Sure, I know it well. I stay at the Ritz right there on the corner.
Yeah, well, I stay at the Motel 6, 5 days over by the.
I doubt that.
By the park. No, my son-in-law lives there. He runs the Parkinson's and Alzheimer's unit for the University of Pennsylvania Medical School.
Yeah, Paul's in the chat.
I'm actually his guinea pig. See, I've actually had Alzheimer's for about 3 years now, but my memory is such that I don't remember, so I'm still okay.
Larry, let's fast forward to the present, right? So we're still stuck in the 70s. We haven't even gotten to the 80s yet, right? I was born in 82.
There's not many people like me around that tell these stories because I've lost so many friends here in the last 2 or 3 years, but there's just not many of the old timers around. When I traded, it was off of a Western Union teletype.
And what was that like? Frustrating,
Messy.
or you just didn't know any better?
That's the only thing you had. You didn't have computers and charts on your computer till 1983. The reason I went back to Chicago, let me explain to you. After I got all my money back in 76, in June of 76. I made most of it back. And then I said, I don't want to work for Lilly anymore. I just want to keep trading. I'm making more doing that. And Drexel Burnham came up to me and said, why don't you come to work for us as a broker? And you made all this money. So how did you know how much money you made? He said, I can tell you within $50 of what you made. And he said, well, we're part of the exchange system, so we know where all the money is. He said, you know how to trade? He said, or invest, whatever it is, you can come to work for us. And I said, well, I don't know if I'm interested in that. And so they had me go over to the Beverly Hills Country Club, and I went in. It was 2:00 in the afternoon, and I saw these beautiful Maserati. I had a nice new Porsche. It was a brand of Maseratis, and there was this beautiful Stutz Blackhawk. This was one of those custom cars that was made, back in those days. That car belonged to Dean Martin. And when I went into the dining room there was only 4 or 5 people there besides a few Drexel people. And the porter was there. And he said, you're with the investment guy. He says, how do you know I'm not a movie star? And he laughed and he said, well, you got the right sense of humor. And over in the right corner, having lunch, was Joey Bishop and Dean Martin. And I grabbed my heart and I said, Mom, I've arrived. But they made it so that it was real easy for me to do. And I had 6 great years there. Still had great friends, and it was easy. I every year for 6 years, I doubled the money of the people that I was trading. But JC, that was biased. I'll tell you why. I was bullish gold and silver. And from 76 through January of 80, it was straight up. And I still have people that call me that still own Cougar Rams that they bought in 77, 78. They paid, 140, 150 bucks a coin for. So,
Are we in one of those times now, you think, Larry?
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Very,
no,
very,
that-
very fast answer there.
No. What you're going to see in these next 2 weeks, you're going to say, shut the front door and raise the rent. How did I not see that coming?
In the next 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
What's happening in the next 2 weeks?
You shall know when you shall see.
Why don't you tell me? My crystal ball's in the shop, Larry. Why don't
All
tell
you
me what's
have to
going on?
do is to see what happened on Friday. The NASDAQ closed down 2 standard deviations in one day. That's only happened 3 times in 51 years of trading since it started in 1973. Every time that that's happened, the NASDAQ has gone down for at least 100 days in the future.
So tell me, let's walk through this again. So what happened on Friday? So Friday, the NASDAQ fell 2%, right?
Yes.
This is the NASDAQ composite or 100?
No, the little one it's got all the big stuff in it. It's not the composite, it's the 100.
I think you're the only person ever to call the NASDAQ 100 the little one.
Well, it's the big one, but it's only got 20 stocks, actually. They're running the whole thing.
Okay, so the NASDAQ 100 falls 2% on Friday, right?
Yeah.
And that's only happened how many times?
3 times.
And
Since
in all 3 of those
1973.
times,
The NASDAQ went down for at least 100 days in the future. But the way it's going to go down is what's going to happen. There's a what do you call those things? A black swan out there. I don't know what it is. Could be Israel. Could be. I think it's going to be Bitcoin because I think they're going to come out and say, oh, this is really a big joke, and they're going to take about $1 trillion away from people in a matter of seconds. But JC, I know this much about Bitcoin. I've never bought it. Don't know about it. I just look at the chart, and all I can say is OMG. That's all I can say is so far it's so bullish, but boy, below 59,000, boy, be really careful if it gets below 59,000. That's going to be the first, that's the first key. That'd be the first standard deviation down. That hadn't happened in a long time. So
hold on. So then so NASDAQ historically, when it does that, doesn't look good. You're a little worried about Bitcoin. What does that have to do with gold and silver?
Oh, they're totally different, and they're commodities. I mean, they're just money. That's all it is. We had a terrific sell pattern. I brought one of the charts along, but this is what we covered over the weekend. We said it on Friday. You don't want to be long gold and silver here, and so that's the story of what we were looking at.
Which chart do you want to look at? You want to pull that out?
You pick
Spencer?
one. We'll pick. Yeah, start out with any one you want. We'll go over them.
Start out with the
I
gold.
got 5 sure.
Yeah, it's what is that? Slide 6. Yeah, slide 6, slide 7.
There you go. See, I do pattern. Yeah.
What are these? What are these fancy green triangles?
If I told you that, I'd have to kill you. No, those are just ABCD patterns. You notice how that looks like a thunderbolt going up? That was the basis of Gartley's book. And also, you've ever heard of fractals with Benoit Mandelbrot?
I know fractals. I don't know that gentleman though.
He's the father of fractal analysis, Benoit Mandelbrot.
I
Anyway,
didn't know fractal analysis had a father.
Oh, dear God, yeah. He was back in the 70s. Basically, he said the markets, and he studied cotton and a couple others, but he spent a lot of time on cotton because back in the 60s and 70s, cotton was really big. And he said, there is a seed in all these markets that if you could find that seed, you could determine what's going to happen next with a great deal of probability, and they repeat over and over again. And that fractal that he talked about was that lightning bolt theory or the ABCD pattern. Gartley pointed that out in his book, page 222, that was written in 1937, the same thing. Now people can, Elliott wave came in and gave it some, wave counts and all that stuff, which is fine. You can call it anything you want. But that's all I'm doing is I'm just measuring these. And you can see this goes back this was 5 years. This is what we said, look out. We're going to be probably going to have one hell of a correct. We had $110 the first day. So I guess that would qualify as a beginning of it.
How so this adds an element of price and time, right?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Sure does. This is what Bartleone specializes in. When I showed this to Jim, I thought he was going to jump out of his airplane. Yeah, he's been doing this for 20 some years now.
And then, so what happens to gold now?
Well, it's going to come down. If you go back to look at 2020 to 2021, you see how it dropped $200 and some. I expect it to come down to just about 2,000 and then go right back up to 3,400.
So you think gold falls as low as 2,000, huh?
Oh yeah.
Sort of retest that former resistance, sort of retest that breakout, and then takes off from there?
Yeah, it could certainly. Yeah, it certainly could.
Huh. And then so silver gets smacked around even worse then in the meantime, huh?
Silver lost $1.60, you know.
Yeah. And so then where does this Italian gentleman, right? You got a lot of vowels in your name, a name like Pesavento.
Pepperoni. My middle name is Pepperoni.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
you got to talk about the Jewish kid that thought he was an Italian, Fibonacci. You know what you should do if you ever had the time. I have a PowerPoint presentation that it takes about, I don't know, 45 minutes or so, but it goes through all of these dudes and the numbers, where they come from, how the numbers fit with the technical analysis, what it means about random theory and why the markets are not random. Everything changed on April 17th of the year 2000. JC. Andrew Lowe from MIT. He runs the financial engineering where all these dudes go. D.E. Shaw and what his name? Bezos was in that group, and his wife Marilyn, back when they were doing the market stuff, back in the 80s. But it shows how the numbers are related to these markets and how they repeat over and over again. The problem is people don't want to spend time to learn how to do it. But someday when you got some free time, I'll come on and put that PowerPoint on and let the folks see my studying over the past. See, I've got 3,000 books here that haven't read them all, but I've got dust on a lot of them. But I've spent a lot of time with the numbers and stuff. You never see an oscillator on my chart. You won't see anything like that. I don't use oscillators. I don't use moving averages because they do exactly what they say they do. They're moving and they're average. So, but anyway, that's pretty much it. So that we were saying to get ready to see a pretty big correction in gold. So the first part of it's happened, and there's a couple other things that go on.
Why was the first slide you sent us the crash of 1987? Can you throw that up there, Spencer?
Yeah, put that up here. I'll show you. This is very interesting because
great way to start a conversation with the crash of 1987.
Okay, this is the Dow Jones on that first. Can you see my mouse or not?
We cannot see your mouse.
Okay, the first red arrow on the left was the top of the stock market on August the 25th of 1987. It was a thing called harmonic convergence. That's where there were 5 planets, all in the sign of not Leo. One of those up. I can't remember the stuff. Anyway, there were 5 planets all lined up together. Okay, the market came down into that red arrow there. That was the solar eclipse of August the 26th, and it rallied for 9 days up until October the 2nd. And that was an exact 61% retracement from that high. And on that day, October the 2nd, I bought October options that expired on October the 16th, the day before the crash. And I was so happy because I got filled on my options right on the low. As you can see down where that red arrow is right before the crash, that was that Friday. Okay. And then on Monday morning, the Dow was down 16%, which if the Dow were down 16% these days, it would be 4,800 to 5,000 points in one day. Anyway,
and Larry, what do 5 planets have to do with the market crashing, out of curiosity?
You ain't got that much time and you don't want to know. It's I don't use it. I don't really use it all. I watch it because I got some smart guys that give me some information here and there. But
are there any particular planets that are leading indicators?
Yeah, sure. The moon, Mercury, and Venus. Those are the 3 closest, and those are the ones that give you some of the best stuff that you can look for.
The moon, Mercury, and Venus. So we're considering the moon a planet in this case.
Yeah, that's correct.
Got it. Because Pluto's a moon and it's also a planet, right? So why can't?
Oh yeah, but that's so far out there. I don't think it affects the market very much. But I know the others do because I watch
I
full
think
moons and new moons. You
or
can see.
Venus and Mercury much
you
closer.
could- yeah.
What about
sure.
Mars? Any?
Yeah, Mars is a big one. W.D. Gann was big with Mars. He did a lot of work with Mars and stuff like that.
Wait,
But I don't use that in my analysis. Back then, I was writing a book called Astro Cycles: A Trader's Viewpoint, and I was on FNN Financial News Network in Los Angeles, and I was a guest of Bill Griffith and Sue Herrera and Ron Insana. That's where they all got started, and I'd go down and give a lecture. And back it was around August, September. It was around let me see, it must have been around September the 15th or something. I was on the show with Bill promoting my book, and I said someday in October, the Dow Jones is going to be down more than 300 points in one day. No, wait, 300? Yeah, more than 300 points in one day. Of course, it was down 500 points on the 20th. So he said, how did you figure that out? I said, look, the biggest move the Dow had ever had up until that point was 190 points. I multiplied that times 1.618. They gave me 320, whatever it was. And I said, it should be down at least that. That's all I was doing is repeating. Well, wait, we're going to see days here in the next 3 or 4 weeks. You're going to see the Dow down 1,000, 2,000. I don't know what's going to start it, but I'll tell you, it's sure got, if it smells like a goat, looks like a goat, and walks like a goat, it ain't a chicken. So you got to be careful of what you're doing in here. I mean, especially if you go home, these next few days are just really, really super important, because if the market can't rally any more than it's done here so far, oh dear God in heaven, they're going to tear it apart. And what'll happen is if it closes badly, just like it did on that Friday, I went home heavily short that Friday, but it didn't continue because it stopped right at second standard deviation. If
Larry,
what
what would have to happen to invalidate this this thesis of yours?
Jesus would have to come back really soon.
Jesus would have to come back. It's the only way that you're going to be wrong, huh?
I'm wrong a lot, JC. No, I'm wrong a lot. If the Dow Jones can go back and take out the high we made on yesterday, which is around 3,800 or whatever it was, if it can close above that. Actually, it's the Nasdaq that is running the show, because that's been the leader of the pack. So if the Nasdaq can get above where is it, 17.3, something like that, if it can get really strong out of the blue, then yeah, it could rally some more. But it doesn't.
And bonds are selling off in that environment too, or bonds finally catch a bid?
Bonds are worthless. I mean, they're just
bonds are worthless. Okay.
They're not worthless. I mean, that's a scam. That's why I'm worried about.
Trillion.
Well, but you stop and think. These people could use that as a flight to safety. Where were these people when bonds 2.5 years ago, when the bonds were trading at 176, and the buzzword was zero interest rates, folks, zero interest rates. I told my 6-year-old grandson, and I said, look, I want you to give me $100, okay? And I'm going to hold it for you, but I can't promise that I'm going to give it back to you. And you're going to have to pay me $5 for me to hold that $100 bill. He said, that's not a good deal. He's 6 years old. Now, how did the smartest people in the world fall into the trap of zero interest rates 2.5 years ago when the bonds were 176? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in all of my investing. And everyone was relating it to quantitative easing and all this other stuff that I don't understand either. I look at a chart. That's all I look at. I just look at a chart. If I see something that smells like a goat, I look at it.
All right, Larry, last question. So if gold does pull back towards that 2,000 level, you back up the truck, buy as much as you can?
I go as high as 1 ounce, sometimes 2 ounces on a big move.
You buy a 1 to 2 ounces?
Wait, like actual gold? Like physical
JC,
gold?
I still have the coins I bought in 1967. I have the premier silver dollars and stuff. But I have gold coins that I've had since 73, 74. I have maple leafs, Cougarans, 50 pesos Mexican, and and later on when I got some of those, I had some of the U.S. gold. I have a couple of sculptured St. Gaudens and a few other stuff, and some I have a couple $500 bills, a couple $1,000 bills that we used to get at the Merc from the Federal Reserve. We used to get them free. Now those bills are, $3,500 premiums.
Very cool, Larry. Larry, here's what we're going to do.
All
We're
right,
going
a
to do
lot.
a planets-only Fibonacci session. We'll do it soon. We'll let you run for today. We've taken your time enough. This is great. I really, really appreciate you being here, but we're definitely doing it again soon. Get ready.
10-4.
Looking
Keep
good,
the
Billy
faith.
Ray. Looking good out there.
And
Feeling good, Lewis. Spencer, thank you very much. This is really first-class outfit. I mean, it's really easy. This is really, really good. All right,
we do
fellas,
our
take
best.
it
Thanks,
easy.
Larry.
May God bless. Pardon me?
All right, a lot to digest from
Thank
that
you, my friend.
conversation. I guess we'll check back in
Okay.
a couple of weeks.
Larry Pesavento, ladies and gentlemen, give it up. Larry the legend.
Yeah,
Come on.
that was good stuff. Always good to get different perspectives. It's good to talk to new traders. It's good to talk to old school traders. Yeah, we try to get varying perspectives on the show,
Dude, he
and haven't had someone like
Trading
Larry
Places.
on before. I mean, really,
Can we
they
just
could
talk
call it
about how
that
he
though.
bought the desk?
He bought the desk.
from Trading Places.
He bought the desk from Trading Places. He's owned certain gold coins for, what do you say, 60 years? 50 years. He thinks some kind of a black swan event is coming imminently. So a lot
Like,
to take away from that.
We're getting some talk in the chat about how to join. We're gonna have a little gold event this afternoon. We're gonna be talking about all things precious metals. So it's a nice little segue. Thanks for the shout out there, Paul. You want to drop the link, Spencer, to
Yep.
where
I will drop the link in chat, and I'll also
you can
throw it
join
on the
myself,
screen.
my gold consigliere, Mr. Ian Colley, will be there, and we will be talking about the current cycle and what we're doing about it. Everyone's asking for it. You got to give the people what they want, Spencer. Got to give the people what they want.
Yep. So QR code on the screen, and I'll drop the link in the chat as well.
Can you imagine, like, when I'm in my 80s and I'm invited into whatever morning show of the day is being had at the time, and they're asking me, and I'm like, oh, we used to trade these shit coins. You kids don't even know anything about the Geo Bowden or the Pepe. Like, can you imagine some of the conversations that I'm going to be having, 50, 40 years from now? I guess I'm not that far from 80. I'm a lot closer to 80 than I thought. Hadn't really thought about it.
Don't think about that. But yeah, man, I don't know. Well, in that situation, it's going to be, in my day, we had to physically move our fingers onto a thing it was called a keyboard, and we had to, like, click buttons, physical buttons.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we had to do in my day. You
That's
kids
the
these days
conversation
with
we're going to be having. We
yeah,
had these things
yeah,
called iPhones. It was wild. You used to have to carry them around with you.
yeah. It
We
was
had these
called a
things called
mouse.
banks.
It was called a
I have
mouse.
to
It wasn't a
explain to
real
the kids how
mouse.
banks
It was
worked.
Okay. I just dropped the link to today's gold video in chat. There it is, 2 p.m. Eastern time. There it is.
We will see you
All
this
right,
afternoon.
Strazza, how we
Looking
doing?
forward to that.
Ready to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
What'd you think about the planets and the moons?
It's not always for me, but it's interesting conversation.
This is the guy Bartoloni learned from.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah, it's good stuff.
All right,
All
very
right.
cool. All right, let's do a quick little rundown. It is 9:34. Market is open. Dow futures are up 69 points. S&P futures up 1/3%, right at 50.65. NASDAQ futures up 40 basis points, up about 75 points. Bond futures down again, about 1/3%, hovering around 114. You've got gold futures down 80 basis points, hanging around 23.25. Silver futures down 0.5%, just over 27. Copper futures down 1.5% at 440. Oil futures 81.5, down 50 basis points. Dollar mix and early trading, not much going on there. Volatility index, VIX right around 16.5. For the VIX, not much really changing in the crypto markets. Solana 154. down 1.5%. You got Ethereum down 50 basis points, 3180. And of course, Bitcoin, 66,220, down about 600 points, 1% on the day. Larry, very bearish in Bitcoin. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Miners following through today without Bitcoin. That's interesting, at least here this morning. We'll see how this looks later in the day. I want to talk about financials. So just, the tail of the tape since last week has been outperformance and leadership from financials, pretty much across the whole group. The industry group breadth has been really good there. Today, just looking, it's another cyclical story, but this time to the downside. So energy lower, materials lower, utilities and defensives are basically flat with real estate, and then leadership coming from technology and healthcare. So that's interesting. A little bit of give back in this relative trend that we've seen in favor of the cyclicals and value groups recently.
You think financials are going to break out of this base?
I do. I think the leadership, just since last week, we're getting really a momentum thrust. Throw up my XLF SPY chart. This is an initiation thrust, which you want to see at exactly this stage of the chart structure, right? So we're moving from a sideways pattern or consolidation, a rounding bottom, a base, into a new rally phase or an uptrend for XLF relative to the broader market. And on the breakout, we have the highest momentum reading. I'm just looking at the trailing 5 days, so the trailing week, the highest momentum reading we've seen in several years in this ratio. That kind of relative strength, not just the reversal in the relative trend, but the relative strength, the momentum behind that relative strength is really, really supportive of a breakout in XLF. Now throw up XLF. I mean, this is just a monster level. Couple touches at the prior cycle highs here. Did I drop
Throw
the
up slide
XLF
2,
in?
Spencer.
Oh, sorry, I must
Throw up
not
slide
have
2.
dropped it.
This is why I don't buy this at all. I'm fading this.
Yep, fade away, my friend. It's a bull market.
Nobody said it's not, but this is the first time that we get back to those former highs. You think we're just going to rip right through it?
This is not
Yes,
the
it
first
is.
time.
It's the first time that we get back to those
What-
former highs.
So we had 2 touches last cycle. You could argue 3.
What do you mean last cycle?
Then we in 2021 and
2022 we hit this high right where we failed last month. Oh, this is
And
the
then in
first
March,
time that we're back.
Okay, so we're basically back there right now, though. So this
Right.
will be the
This
second
is
or
the first time that we're back.
I don't think
This
so.
is not the first time we're
see-
back. I see 2 years of us not being back, and now we're back for the first time. What do you mean?
And then we're back again. We failed
We're
in March.
We're
right?
still failing.
It's-
We
it's
haven't
been-
not failed.
Okay, so now we're testing again from beneath after a little bit of a false start, and I think we get it done. The momentum and the relative trend supports a breakout.
Yeah, I
see.
don't think so. I don't think so at all.
Banks, rough start to earnings season, but what a turnaround.
I guess we're still
You
below
look at
those former highs.
Wells Fargo.
That's like buying Bitcoin here, like just assuming it's going to break out.
I'm not buying XLF.
I'm not saying you are. I'm telling you why I don't buy this. Buying XLF right here is like buying Bitcoin right here.
Listen, I like to use momentum and the relative trend to confirm breakouts and pattern resolutions. And right now, what I'm seeing, an initiation thrust in the relative trend, makes me think that this will break out in the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, I think it's your denominator fallacy in that ratio. So what you're seeing is the XLF breaking out on a relative basis, but that's because tech sucks. So if your denominator sucks so much, then of course line go up, right? And by the way, you're right on that XLF outperformance. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not arguing that at all. What I'm debating here is that we are back to those former highs. We're failing at those former highs, and until proven otherwise, there's no reason to just assume that we're going to break out. That seems silly.
No, it's not silly, right? You're just anticipating.
Right. This continues to be a market where anticipating you investors continue to be penalized for anticipating. Breakouts continue to fail.
I don't know what investors. I don't know what investors. We've been doing just fine over here, and I'm one step ahead of you. I looked at the equal weight ratio. It's making new 52-week highs as well. So if you want to look up RSPF, RSP, that equal weights them, remove some of that tech exposure. It's still heavy tech because it's the S&P 500, but you're getting new 52-week
Yeah,
highs.
but
highest
nobody's
level since
denying that on a relative basis, financials are outperforming. No one's denying that at all. What I'm saying is
Yeah,
that
good.
on an absolute basis, we're back to those former highs. We have not broken out. We're still below overhead supply. So why are we going to get cute in an environment where the market's a mess?
Again, I'm just saying I think that financials is an area where you can look to for new longs right now.
And I think
this breakout
financials are a good place to not be long,
good.
to actually sell volatility and take advantage of investors that are impatient and do not have the ability to sit tight and wait for a breakout. I think that we want to extract money from those type of people.
I would love to sell you more Apple puts.
Sell me more Apple puts. I'm not buying Apple puts.
I thought you were long puts.
No, we talked about this yesterday. Yes,
we
you
didn't.
did. You asked me if I had any more bearish positions on it. I said no. I'm good.
You were long
We were,
puts.
yeah, and my money tripled. That was great. But
Oh,
that's
wow.
that's not the environment that I want to be in right now. Maybe we'll initiate new shorts. Maybe we'll initiate new longs soon. But right now, it's just making it rain premium. That's what I think is the easier bet right now. Instead of anticipating breakouts in a messy environment where breadth continues to deteriorate, why are we going to get cute?
I don't think it's cute to err in the direction of the primary trend, right? Life is easier when you're with the primary trend. Primary trend is undeniably higher for stocks, so I'm looking to get long. I'm not looking for sideways bets during a bull market. That would be a tougher life.
All right.
Right.
Well, easier in the long term. There's a difference
Yeah,
between
this
easier in the
goes back
long
to
term,
time
easier in
horizon.
the short term.
This goes back to time horizon.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Can I do some headlines? Then we'll bring on
Please.
Patrick. We talked about Spotify leading the way on the way up today. Leading the way on the way down is JetBlue. Can we bring up the JetBlue chart, please? They lowered their guidance for the year. So remember, we had earnings from Delta and American in the last week, right? I think, and both of them came in with good quarters and good guidance. They are much larger operations than JetBlue. JetBlue is coming off of the the canceled acquisition or merger with Spirit Airlines, and so this is a smaller company, a smaller airline, and they are struggling. They lowered their guidance for the year. 10% revenue for the year will be 10%. Revenue for the quarter will be 10% lower on a year-over-year basis. So the stock is down 12% so far today. And again, larger operations, as a general rule of thumb, larger operations, this is like a theme for like business in general. Larger companies do well, smaller ones struggle. And it's happening in the airline industry.
How about GM? That's a big business.
Want to mention that.
How about GM?
Yeah, man. GM, that's I think do we have that chart? I'm not sure if we do, but big report here at General Motors. Holy moly.
It's a great chart.
EPS. Oh, look at that. We have the chart. EPS beat, sales beat, guidance raise, just blowout quarter. I don't know last time you could say that.
It's amazing.
GM, but
what you can do when you stop trying to make EVs.
yeah.
How much are they up pre-market?
Sure, basically. Well, market's open now.
It's up 4.5%. Is that big of a deal?
I mean, for GM, kind of.
$50 billion company. This thing sucks. Like, does anybody actually care about this company or any of the people there? Or like, why does this even matter?
I mean, that's a big move. That's a really big move for GM, right?
4%
almost 5%.
$50 billion stock. Like, why does this even matter?
What?
General Motors. Like, why does it matter?
Like,
Because they have so much debt. So
why does any stock matter? I mean,
what do you mean? Nobody's saying it matters any more than anything else. You can make money on it. It would have been a great trade if you traded the lower bounds to the upper bounds of this range.
You're saying over the last couple of years?
No, just since the October lows. You had a little breakaway gap back into the range. You had a little scoop and score and up 45% in a matter of less than 2 quarters. So
yeah,
I think the range is
Detroit cares. Okay, so why does Detroit matter?
Now the reversal's in. No one's saying Detroit matters.
I like Detroit.
Well, hold on just a second there.
I like Detroit. I think Detroit gets a bad rap.
I
That
don't
Greek
care
town
about
in Detroit is fantastic.
I don't care about Detroit. I care that this bearish to bullish reversal pattern looks like a lot of the bearish to bullish reversal patterns that we've made a lot of money on since early last year.
I was going to say since last year. This looks like those tech stocks did and those growth stocks did.
Yeah, look at this beautiful retest you're getting. I mean, it already happened, up 10% today. But this is set up. This is set up great. Look, everybody wants to talk about Tesla every day. This is a fresh base breakout, right? Brand new uptrend underway. Path of least resistance is now higher for General Motors. So if you're into investing in cars or car makers, maybe you want to look at the traditionals. It's a traditional market. We're out here talking about XLF and banks and TradFi. We're out here talking about energy, oil and gas, and uranium, and copper, industrial metals.
Yeah, but all the foreign car makers, those are the ones, right?
We're talking
Toyota.
about,
To say, why would you want to own the one with the communists when you can own like a Japanese one or
Toyota. No one's communist here, but Toyota. You can look at
they have to pay all these
Ferrari. Yeah, okay. We're not getting into that.
it's not their fault that their employees unionize.
You see, lots of industries have unions, man.
Yeah, and how are they doing? How's that working out for them?
Some better than others, I'm sure. I mean, all right. Couple other things that I want to bring Patrick on. Hibbett Sports, HIBB, going off the board. Again, taken private by JD Sports Fashion for $87.50 per share in cash. $87.50. That's your price on HIBB. We talked last week about the tapestry. What?
Who's buying Hibbett?
JD Sports Fashion. Don't know it.
Not public?
No.
Okay.
All right. We talked last week about the Tapestry Capri Holdings merger. The FTC was going to sue. They did sue. That's official now. So that merger being called into question. Amazon is launching.
Talk about communists. Speaking of the FTC, go on.
Are they communists? I don't think they're communists, are they?
Like out in the open.
Really?
Spencer. Yeah.
All right. Amazon is launching a new subscription plan for Prime members in 3,500 cities for unlimited grocery delivery for $10 per month on orders exceeding $35 from Whole Foods or Amazon Fresh or select local grocery stores. So $10 a month, unlimited grocery delivery from Amazon. Kind of cool.
But what grocery stores? Like, would I use them instead of Instacart?
From Whole Foods, and I imagine they're going to sign up some partner stores as well. But
at
I
this
don't know.
point, you're going to have to do a lot for me to leave Instacart. The customer experience is lovely.
All right, I've never used a grocery delivery in my life.
Stop it!
Oh, dude, you're not living.
You don't use Instacart?
The time I save is insane.
Yeah, you go to the grocery store. Who
2
goes to the
hours of
grocery
your
store?
life gone.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that changing one day, but I mean, yeah, I kind of like it.
I like going to the grocery store too. To Spencer's point,
Is that so wrong?
who has the time to go to the grocery store? It's 2024.
On a Saturday morning?
No kids.
I can mess with a weekend trip. You know, if there's nothing going on, I got nothing better to do. I'll wander around the aisles a little bit. I would prefer to do that at a farmer's market.
All right.
Keeps it fresh, man.
And then last thing, there's some more M&A.
Chart of Toyota. Have you seen this Toyota chart? Jeez Louise, we're sitting here talking about General Motors. Look at Toyota.
That's what I said.
The vans that they have out in Japan, it's like the toilets. It's just it's a whole nother level.
How about that base in Honda?
Yeah. Toyota, the better operator, though, consistently.
Can we bring Patrick on?
Please.
All right.
What's up, Pat?
How you doing?
Oh, you know.
Hey. You know, all this talk about car makers. You guys remember VinFast, VFS?
Yeah.
I looked at that chart yesterday, Pat.
What happened? I haven't even
I don't
looked
know.
at it.
Strazza is our Vietnam
What do you think?
correspondent.
What do you think happened?
It's a U.S. company.
What was the deal with that? Didn't that market cap get up to like something
No.
ridiculous?
It was hard to borrow.
It was super low float. You couldn't even trade the thing, so that's why it exploded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it exists. We saw it. It's a thing.
We saw a showroom,
And we were so surprised.
in Huntington Beach. We gonna see you next month, Pat?
You will, absolutely.
Throw up slide 2 quick so people could see the disaster that is VinFast. Look at this disaster. So this is a Vietnamese car manufacturer, or was?
Looks Chinese.
Looks more Chinese. That's right.
I'm funny.
Man, that is terrible.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Man, Bill talking about how police and firefighters have unions too. Are they communists? They're not publicly traded companies, Bill. They're not publicly traded. They can do whatever they want. But if a publicly traded company, if their priority is not to increase shareholder value, but to make donations to employees who no longer work there, that's where the problem is.
They're public utilities. They're not even run as for profits. So.
Yeah, they're not for profit companies. They can do whatever they want. Knock yourselves out. But if you work for shareholders, which contrary to popular belief, publicly traded companies don't work for their employees.
Did you see
They
the
work for shareholders.
in the hockey game, the NYPD FDNY hockey game?
That sounds pretty exciting.
It is exciting. I've always wanted to go to that.
I would love to go to that. They play baseball too. They take their sports
They
seriously.
have a baseball game too? Is it in Yankee Stadium?
They play a baseball game every year.
Wait,
too.
does one tend to dominate? Do we know?
I doubt it. They're probably both good athletes on both sides. The
Uh,
hockey one is the one that I want to go to, though. They're probably beating the crap out of each other.
hey, how about those New York Knicks? You watched the game last night?
No.
Crazy finish.
Crazy finish. Anyway, Pat, what do you got besides this?
Oh man, what do I got? Well, big week for communications. You got the 4 biggest components in there reporting earnings. You had Verizon yesterday. Tomorrow you got Meta, and then Thursday you got Google, T-Mobile. Nobody really cares about T-Mobile, but
Why isn't Netflix communications?
it is, isn't it?
Is it? I thought it was
It is.
discretionary. Okay, good.
It is.
Got it. So already one big miss there, Pat.
Right, but so what's interesting is Netflix is not one of the larger. I mean, it's up there, but it's not.
No.
You have AT&T, Disney, Comcast, EA, all bigger than Netflix.
I've been saying it for a decade now. How Netflix was ever included in this FANG situation is it never made sense at all.
Yeah, I don't get it.
It's a fraction of the size, but yeah, to your point.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder that like I think you think of the mega caps as all kind of the same, right? But within them, there's big differentiation between some of the big ones and some of the smaller ones. Like, what you were saying with Netflix and things.
Verizon got crushed on earnings yesterday. That's that's one of the top 5 components, right?
Yes, it's
I don't know when the last time I could say this is. I have a chart handy. There's a base shaping up there in Verizon.
Oh yeah?
You ever think you would hear me say this about good old Verizon?
Is this a dividend play, Steve?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
only.
but it's not a dividend play.
That's what they would tell you, Pat. That's what they would tell you.
This is a company that people only own because they're getting this set dividend. It's one of those. It's not like the good dividend stocks, like the ones that keep increasing their dividends. It's not one of those at all. Furthest thing from it, actually.
It's a high yield bond.
So what you're saying is like dividends like the only reason to own it.
I mean, it's just you don't get much in terms of price appreciation. Typically, you get some price depreciation. But here's the base. Throw this up. I just dropped in the chat. Something going on there. Is bottom line. T-Mobile still the leader within telecommunications, all right.
Yeah, and communications has shown a little bit of relative strength. It's right there. It hasn't broken out yet, but it's recovering from worst drawdown ever. I mean, it was basically cut in half in 2022. So at a really important level on a relative basis there too. So we'll see what this week brings.
Don't look, but Got ourselves a green day here.
So far,
Hey,
yeah.
Spencer, the market
Look.
opened up 25 minutes ago. Green day is a strong
Hey,
word.
hey, green yesterday.
A really nice relief rally. We're actually setting up for some breath thrusts. So
that was really interesting. That chart from Grant yesterday really caught my eye.
Yeah.
We got a Zweig bread thrust potentially on the table. We're trying
Is
for one.
anybody educated enough to walk me through exactly what the trigger is, what we're looking for next,
So
what the implications are? Anybody know that off the top of their head?
I'm gonna screw it up, but I think it's the 10-day moving average of the advanced decline line. It has to oscillate from like below something to above
85.
like 61.5. Some very specific number.
So it's a 10-day moving average on which advanced decline line? It doesn't matter.
Nicey, I think.
Does it matter, or is it a specific?
I think it's nicey, yes, Pat.
Let's see.
So this is like a market thing. It's not a breadth thrust for a specific sector. It's not like it could be used in any asset. It's like
I don't think so. It's a little bit too specific. You get a lot of false signals. No offense to anybody who uses it. And 3 breath thrusts this cycle, that's too much for me. I want one breath.
Like the Hindenburg thing where you get the Hindenburg all the time.
Listen, it's not a bad thing. It's one of those things where it's not a bad thing. Do you want to like mortgage the house and buy everything because you got a Zweig breath thrust? No. Right.
Right. Got it.
But I think the bigger thing is just that we're going for our 3rd one this year. Is that right? Or
that's my point. It's like too much this cycle. It's not this year, but this cycle. It's a lot. Right? You want an initiation thrust. And then you want another one the next cycle. You don't want to keep firing. Even with our breath indicators, I was kind of annoyed because we got some really strong readings early in the bull market, and then we got some really strong readings in November of last year. And I was like, that's just a little unusual to see them that spaced out. Permabull would tell you this is a secular bull market. That's why that's happening, right? We got years and years to go. This is 1995. So
I would agree with that, but I don't think you need to be a permabull to say that.
The big bulls, right? If you're a big bull on the street right now, you're making the 1995 comparisons. And listen, I think there's something there. I'm not dismissing it at all, but
I'm not dismissing it at all either. I actually would agree wholeheartedly with that.
I mean, you and I will wait and see, right? We can anticipate that and think, yeah, that's probably maybe in the cards, but we got to continue to see it. I'm more worried about kind of the developments and all the new data as it comes in, but I like it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that long-term stuff. Short-term market's a mess. Hit the bumper, Spencer.
Oh, recess?
Please.
Yeah,
cool.
Recess.
I want to give a shout out to Pittsburgh. Throw up that slide 10 there, Spencer. I want to give a shout out to Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh, underrated town. Underrated. Good eats. Great history in Pittsburgh. The sports scene is off the charts. So sick. Look at this picture of the baseball field. This is PNC. I've walked over that bridge. The football field is just to the left of that, right? So it would be on the third base line, if you will. It would be behind that would be the it used to be Three Rivers, whatever it's called now. I've been to a bunch of sporting events there, college football, NFL. I mean, just great town, man. And then, people who might not be familiar with the geography of the Northeast, Pittsburgh's nowhere near New York. Like, couldn't be further. It's essentially Ohio for all intents and purposes. It's right on the border of Ohio. So it's far as shit from New York and Philly. So it's like, getting towards that Midwest, right? Getting away from that East Coast. Pittsburgh, man. Shout out Pittsburgh. Great town. Just wanted to share that. Great town.
Okay.
I like it.
I like Pittsburgh. It's cool.
Go Knicks. Totally on the bandwagon. I don't know about you, Spencer, but I'm in.
Oh my God. I got so lucky. I just turned the game on last night at the very end. I caught the last 2 minutes. Oh my gosh. What an ending. But no,
Brunson's the real
for all
deal.
those
I like
who-
that kid a lot. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
He didn't have a good game. He didn't play so well last night.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, I know.
I hope everyone celebrating had a great Seder last night. My Seder went off pretty much without a hitch. A lot of cooking, a lot of cleaning, a lot of plates. But it was a good time. Good time was had. We got round 2 tonight. Thankfully, not at my house. So I'm going to my parents for that. But
You have the
yeah.
you have your notebook? You have your notebook handy that you
Oh,
showed
I don't
me?
have my notebook. I can go get it if you want real fast. But
Bring it tomorrow.
yeah,
Bring
we
it
had
tomorrow and show
it was
them.
it was a 40-page. We had a 40-page book we got to follow, and the eating part doesn't start until page 27 or
Jeez.
28. So we had to get through the first 27 pages of reading. You know, it's basically just reading.
You
And
pass it around and everybody reads a little bit, or is there like a reading?
everyone has their own copy. Everyone has their own copy. So it's just a
Everyone
lot
has
of
their own
reading out
copy.
loud. Yep.
And you just take turns, kind of go around the table reading?
Yep, pretty much. And then you eat.
And do you read it
but
in
there's also
English
like
or in Hebrew or both?
it's both. But you have to like there's things you have to do. Like there's ceremonial cups of wine you have to drink. So you have to drink 2 glasses of wine prior to the meal. Whatever you want.
But it has to be
Right.
kosher.
But well, I mean, yeah. I mean, not. I guess sure. I mean, some people. I don't know if we have kosher wine, but
You can drink
we
2
have what we
glasses
have.
of wine before dinner.
Yeah, you're supposed to drink 2
With no carbs.
before
With
and
no
2
carbs.
and 2 after.
Wow. I think I could get down with this.
Yeah.
I need to get involved
Yeah.
in this a little. And you only read it in
Yeah.
English though?
No, there's some Hebrew involved.
That part is
But
going to be
it's
hard
just
for
like
me.
it's just like blessings and stuff. But yeah, and then you have to eat the matzah, which like still always befuddles me as to why non-Jews like matzah, because no Jewish person enjoys matzah. But
My sister
one
makes
of
a hell
life's
of a
great-
matzo ball soup. Oh, is that different?
well, that's different. That's different. That's matzo ball
All right.
soup, right?
All
anyway.
right. I learned something
All
every
right,
day.
what's today? It's Tuesday,
Tuesday.
which means we
It's
got
Tuesday.
spaces in an hour, right?
Yep.
We
Sure
got
do.
Draw Request Live at 1 o'clock, and that's the deal. So
the way
thank you
these
very much. Yeah, go ahead.
the way these crypto stocks are trading makes me think breakout back above the prior cycle highs and now this little coil for Bitcoin is imminent. And I think we'll talk all about it on Spaces today. So join us there.
By the way, Strazza, the way Bitcoin is trading makes me think that. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty solid consolidation up here. A lot healthier. I mean, so far anyway. We'll see what happens.
100%. From an intermarket perspective, though, just look at the way these crypto equities are doing today with Bitcoin. It's got a red stick right now. So that's interesting.
Someone's long riot.
All right, we'll see you there.
I'm
Smash the
lost.
like. Go make some money.
Adios.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then I go